Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the show. Hope everybody's doing good. We're doing pretty good over here. I'm gonna, again, skip the pleasantries. I'm doing fine. Everything's good. Ran a marathon, no big deal. Pretty cool. But I got a couple of things that are on my brain. This might take a while, so settle in. So, since I already brought it up, let me chat about the marathon a little bit. I basically did no training. I've never run a marathon, I never ran a half marathon, I never ran a 10K. The most I've ever run is a 5K, and then in training for the marathon, I ran 5 miles. I think that was my furthest. And I only ran like maybe 6 times total in the months leading up to it. So, I was a little concerned leading up to the day that, my thought was, the reason that I had a hard time with running was because it's so damn boring, at least on the treadmill. And then going outside, I live in Florida, so it's 100 degrees, and it's just miserable to run outside. So I was concerned with the fact that either A, my mind would fail me, and I would want to give up. Like, it would just be so hard to just keep moving because of my lack of mental fortitude. Or B, that my body would fail me. But luckily, almost neither of those things happened. I was actually pretty pleasantly surprised. Also, don't look at my socks. These are what I was wearing when I was painting furniture. It is black paint, not dirt. Thank you. I was pleasantly surprised that I made it like 16, 17 miles perfectly fine. It was good. It was unbelievable. Like no lung issues at all. I thought maybe my lungs would be a limiting factor, but it was chill. It was pretty good. And not even like, like it was a push, but it wasn't the most difficult thing in the world to do. But then after that, my legs started cramping up, and they didn't stop cramping until the race was over. So I kind of had to do a little bit of run walk. Basically, I would run until my legs would lock completely straight with cramps. And then I would walk until they would loosen up, until I could bend my knees. I had to peg leg it a little bit, swing the leg out. And then once my legs would loosen up, I'd run as much as I could. A lot of times that made it immediately worse. And I kind of just did that to the end of the race. And then like the last mile-ish, I ran the rest of it. Finished strong, baby. But I had some certain predictions about what afterward would feel like. And it wasn't quite like that. It wasn't what I thought it was going to be. So first, I thought afterwards I would have this immense Buddy! It's loud as hell. It's loud as hell out there. That's okay. Okay. I thought I would have this immense sense of satisfaction with myself, and I really thought that after completing it, that, typically when I do very difficult things, especially in succession, key point there, I get this stability within my character. Like, it's like, I don't know, self-belief or confidence or whatever, but it really alleviates any existing anxiety for a considerable amount of time. When you consider what the input was, the output lasts a lot longer than I would have thought with normal things. But with this, I didn't really feel any different. And I thought that was very interesting. In fact, I would say that I was more proud of not being afraid or nervous, and especially not showing myself being afraid or nervous to others around me leading up to the race. I was more satisfied and more proud of that than I was with actually doing the thing. And I think in part it was because my main thing about the race was like, I can't fail. I just can't. I can't fail, I can't cheat, I can't lose, because if I do, I don't know how I'm going to face my family, because essentially it's the consequences of my own actions. Basically, every time somebody was like, oh, you should probably be running, and I didn't do it, they would be completely right in that sense. And I just couldn't allow that to happen. You know, I had to represent my relationship. I had to represent myself, my family. You know, so it was kind of like there was no option of failure. That just wasn't on the table. And even if I had to crawl across, then it had to be completed. It had to be done. And so I think that that is one of the things that, or probably the main thing that really lessened the sense of achievement afterwards, because I was like, all right, well, fucking, I can't just come out here and look like a pussy. You know what I mean? That's just a bad look to be like, yeah, I'll run a marathon and then fail to run it. You know, that seems like a pretty terrible thing to happen. So I don't know, but it didn't really instill me with much confidence. I definitely was confident more afterwards, but I think that change had already taken place during the lead up. Like the night or two before, it was like, okay, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. It's going to happen on this day, and that day is within 48 hours of us. So I got to be ready mentally for this, and I think that I prepared effectively enough to where I kind of scraped all the value out of doing it before it even happened. Which, now that I'm saying out loud, I don't know if I love, because I do have a tendency to do that, where I talk about a desired achievement or goal before it's been completed, and by talking about it, I get some recognition both from myself and the other party, and that gives me whatever dopamine increase that I would likely get from just completing the thing, and so then I never want to complete the thing anyways. Something that needs to be fixed, looked at in the future. A little bit of a hole in my reward matrix. But it was pretty sick to get this fat ass medal. This fat ass medal. And I got some t-shirts and stuff too, so that was pretty sick. Shout out to whomever. So that was pretty cool. And also it was sick, but not as sick as I thought to be done with it. I thought I was going to be just relieved that it was over, but really it was just like, all right. I don't know. It seemed so inconsequential when I finished it. I thought this was going to be like a major personal moment, but really it was just like, okay, you did it. All right, whatever. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. I don't know what happened entirely. Obviously, I have my theories, but the world may never know, and I'm sure it holds its breath. Speaking of the same vacation, I was there for like 7 days. Which honestly I think is a little too long. It kind of just worked out that way because of flights and whatnot. Some weird stuff with Spirit. Ugh. But I think it was too long. It was kind of difficult to leave and kind of difficult to come back. But something that I will say is a note of some personal success and epiphany of truth. That might be redundant, but so every time that not every time, but most of the times that I've visited with friends or family or they've visited me since I left, things have been a little weird, a little awkward, you know, especially the first time. I remember the first time seeing my family, people that raised me. I've known literally my entire life and all of theirs, or most of theirs. And it was weird. You know, I've lived with these people, I've known these people, I've achieved things with these people, you know, like we know each other very well, and then interacting with them, it was like they thought I was a different person or something, which was very odd and unsettling. And the same exact thing happened when I saw my friends for the first time, and the second time with my family. And it just kind of struck me that a relationship is not always necessarily static, as in and this might not always be the case. You know, there are some people that you just meet again and you just hit it off with. You know, I've had people that I've known like that. But it seems that it's not always the case, and that when you aren't inputting enough into the system, their sense of familiarity, which I assume is a giant factor in the love that you feel for someone, is that, you know, the familiarity over time, like how familiar you become with someone over time, greatly contributes to the amount of love and respect and admiration you have for that person. And that me not being as present, both physically and I assume emotionally, in these relationships had caused them to kind of atrophy a little bit, which is fucking weird, dude. Like, I didn't even consider that as a possibility, and yet it was very obviously the truth. Like, okay, things have never been weird before in my entire life, and they are right now. So obviously me leaving has something to do with that. It would be ignorant to assume otherwise. But this time, I went in, you know, I'm a little bit more stable now, and a little bit more confident, and a little bit more sure of myself. And I was able to much more easily slide back into the role that I am used to existing within my friend groups and within my family, and dabble outside of that role to kind of challenge some of the preconceived notions. And it went great. And it kind of led me to the belief that in fourth grade, there was a wise young lady that was my classmate. We were really good friends. And she said to me, I was worried about it being awkward with some girl, I'm sure. And she said to me, it's only awkward if you make it awkward. And that's something that's really stuck with me. And so it seems to be everlastingly true that I may not be the one who's bringing this awkwardness in, because I was completely unaware that it would ever be awkward. I thought shit would be the same forever. Why would it ever change? But to actively act unawkwardly relieves some of the tension in the room. And I noticed that as soon as I tried to be that, as soon as I tried to be, extra comfortable with these people, it just lowered these barriers. It's like this defense mechanism from others where it's like if you're an outsider, there's just a certain level of comfort that you can't reach because you're not sure if you can trust this person, you're not sure if they're going to hurt you. Obviously, we can, guess and infer where that may come from evolution. But yeah, I just got to lead the charge, dude. I just got to be the man. I got to be the tone setter in all of my relationships if I'm going to live a lifestyle that is outside of their current world, which is, the people, places, and things that they interact with every single day, that they're very familiar with. Now, since I've moved away, I exist outside of that bubble. And so when I enter it, it is a foreign presence. And so the system attacks it as such, even though people are like, wait, I know this guy, but it's still kind of weird. But not so the case anymore, which is good. I think it's a valuable lesson, and it also kind of made me rethink how I interact with a lot of people and how I treat some friendships that have dwindled, and has, inspired me to make some changes in the way that I organize my life and the way that I organize myself outwardly, and that you just got to be the man sometimes. You just got to be the one that is going to do stuff, because, it's like this. It's not like I'm Mr. Hero over here, but it's like, if I'm going to write a short story and I let 6 other people write that short story for me based on some meetings that we had about the premise, chances are they're really not going to get it right? They're not going to be super true to my vision. And in rare instances, this can, be avoided, but typically, you're just not going to have the same vision as somebody else. And so in order for me to make sure that that story plays out the way that I want it to, I have to be the one to write it, And so I think that was a valuable lesson that hopefully I can carry with me, because it's very uncomfortable to see people that I've known my whole life and spent extraordinary amounts of time with look at me unfamiliarly, look at me as if I'm strange or different or somebody else. And I didn't like it. I did not like it one bit, and it prevented me in the past from really bonding and appreciating the fact that I get to see people that I never get to see. So it's good. That's good. But yeah, something else that has been on my mind and periodically has entered my mind for a long time, I don't know, but I've given it some more thought, and I'm curious what everyone else thinks. And also I just want to share. But the concept of innocence lost and the death of childhood, and how fundamentally and philosophically devastating it is. So, I'm going to avoid getting all boo-hooey. I don't need to dump my metaphorical purse out in these metaphorical woods, but there were many parts of my childhood that were missing because of certain circumstances that I was born into. I did not choose them, but they were the circumstances. It was the hand that I was dealt, right? And so because of that, I am of the opinion that my childhood, or at least much of it, was stolen from me. That much of the, you're just coming into the world and everything is beautiful and amazing. You don't understand it yet. You don't have preconceived notions that you have to fight over to try and negotiate beliefs. You just see the world and are in awe at what is happening around you and how things work and how beautiful this place is and the people within it. And it's fundamental. It's fundamental. It's a part of everyone's life that you go through life this way. And I think for myself and many others much more so than myself, that wasn't what it could have been. And that is a wound like no other. I cannot think of a single thing that I can put into my mind that immediately shifts my emotional state. And it just disappoints me so. It is not lost on me the value of the thing that was taken. And the more that I live and the more experiences I have, the more true that is. That blows, dude. It blows and it blows and it blows that some part of my life that I will never ever get back, I will never ever experience again. I can never change what has already happened. That part of my life was impacted very negatively by the choices of others and no fault of my own. Like I said, it was the cards I was dealt. That's just how it happened. It's just how it happened. I was born into this situation, and because of that fact, this is what I got to deal with. And it just truly is a shame. And it's funny, actually, because the thing recently that got me thinking about it, every once in a while it pops in my head, I'm like, fuck, dude, that fucking sucks. It sucks that I didn't get to have the childhood that I would have loved to have. It could have been so sick if I just had in my life a group of people that knew what they were doing and knew that it wasn't about them and that this was a special time and it should be carefully and delicately handled. But anyway, every once in a while it pops in my mind. But what recently got me thinking about this is that I actually twice within the last month have, with my partner, marathoned the Harry Potter series. And it's, you say what you will about a man who, likes him some Harry Potter, but it really is pretty incredible that they were able to cast such accurate individuals. I was obviously a fan of the books. I had read them several times over. And for them to so accurately capture from page to screen is extraordinary. Really, it's incredible. And not only to capture it for the first film, but then keep nearly all of the same actors and actresses in those roles for 10 some odd years. It's incredible. And so afterwards, after I finished the first time, and then more after I finished the second time, I watched a bunch of behind the scenes footage. And you get to see just hand camcorder footage of these kids growing up in this playful environment and experiencing the wonder of their surroundings and just being so excited and playful and enjoying each other and the set and their mentors and just growing and watching them grow through the movies and seeing these experiences. And it just really got me thinking, obviously, yeah, fucking would have been super sick to have been able to be part of such a magical creation. But I'm not really salty that I wasn't Harry Potter, you know what I mean? That makes sense to me. Yeah, whatever. There's no beef with me and the creator that, oh, fuck, dude, you didn't fucking make me born over there so I could be Harry Potter? Are you serious? But it does make me reflect on my own childhood and seeing these guys, and I'm not saying it was all sunshine and rainbows for them. I don't know that there was anything nefarious going on, but typically, things happen when you get a lot of people together. But it just really put into perspective, and it put me back in that place where I'm just so utterly disappointed that things were so much less than they could have been, and I had no way to change that. Regardless of how I feel now, there's no way for me to go back and give that gift to myself. It's impossible. It's impossible. The clock ticks on. We move forward, not backwards. There's nothing that we can do. And, those experiences made me who I am, of course. Obviously, we all know this, yada, yada, yada. But it just really put into perspective. It made me realize the gravity of the situation. And it's like I lost this thing. And every so often I recognize, fuck, that actually really sucks. I really would have loved to have that thing. But every so often it deepens. It deepens with age. It deepens with experience. And it makes me, above all else, recognize the importance of being a parent. And, many people don't take it very seriously. And in doing so, they are performing the same act of theft that was performed on me in a multitude of ways. And so, the only real answer, the only real solution here, since I cannot change the clock and I cannot push back the date, the only real answer is that I have to pay it forward. That, one, by the time I am ready to be a father or becoming a father, I better get my shit figured out. Or figure out how to button it up enough so that no child is ever aware of anything that they don't need to be aware of at the age that they are. And two, to actively work to make childhood as special as possible while simultaneously trying to really inform this new being that shit is sweet now and it will never be the same, so appreciate it while you got it. And I think I've spoken about this in the past, of just really capitalizing on your opportunities while you have them presented to you, because once that you move past it, there's really no way to recapture that moment. But in childhood, this is especially true, and that it is absolutely my responsibility as a future parent to give that child as much magic as possible in the time that they can experience it in all their naivete, however you say that. In all their, wonder of the world, just really give them that gift of a magical childhood, and what a difference that might make in their future moving forward. Yeah, it's, I actively think about my own parents, and I think about how many lessons I can take from what they did, right and wrong, to exponentially increase the love and the magic and the wonder and the experience of my child's early life. Once they're, in their later teens, it's like, okay, I can kind of start dumping some real shit on you, but really just trying to prepare them from the world while keeping the world from them is going to be so incredibly important. And especially now that the internet is a thing where kids can see frontline footage of every war in the entire world, and can see, naked women whenever they want, and can see just heinous crimes committed at the touch of a finger. Especially now, it's going to be very important. And I don't have answers for how to do this, by the way, and I don't know that I'll have those answers for a long time, and maybe not even until I try things myself. But I'm not saying I won't make mistakes, but at the same time, it's like, it's abundantly clear to me that is one of the highest priorities in any individual's life, is the care and the effort that you put in to the next generation. Yeah, which is something that I look forward to. I look forward to that. And I part of me thinks that there is a slim possibility that by doing so, I will be able to grant some solace to the young man within me who had certain things taken away, and give some peace to that little guy hanging out in there. Maybe we'll see. I don't know. And if not, I'm not going to be upset about that. It's not really about me at that point. But it would be pretty sick if I get a little candy out of there too. But we shall see. But that's all I got. That's all I got for today. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate each and every one of you. Please let me know what you think about this stuff in the comments. I say these things because I'm already thinking about them, and to be completely honest, I really just love to talk. I really just love to yap about what is on my brain, because of course I think that I am just so brilliant, right? But at the same time, I would love to have some discourse about it, and just be curious about what my fellow man and woman, although I think that term applies to everybody. It's like guys, you know what I mean? Whatever. Thinks about what I have to say and what about these things, because I do think that there's some meat here. But anywho, you guys have a good one. Take care of yourselves, and let's keep getting after it, baby. Let's get better every day. Let's do, all that cool stuff. But Nick out.